Hi, I'd like to go in a little bit today about energy stealers, energy vampires. I mean, you go on YouTube. There's so many videos of it, and the reason why there's so many videos of it because it's a very real, and we would say because our society and our world doesn't really want to go into it. You won't see it on the news. By the way, today we like to talk about energy stealing, right? Because this is a real world. When we look at the news and we look at all these medias and all these other stuff, they cover the surface level of stuff. They don't cover, they can't. Maybe they're not able to. Maybe they're not equipped to study what is really going on behind the scenes as to why things happen the way they do. And some people will go, well, there's a reason for it happening, right? And that may be true to a certain point, but that's a huge deception because you know what? I more and more studies are showing there's a reasoning and a reason behind what's what happened, right? There's always you go to any crime scene, you'll always get the people canvassing for witnesses because they're trying to get as much perspectives from every different angle as to what happened, right? So with energy stealers, they are the people who don't really like. They don't. Whether they're lazy. And by the way, to not have any kind of moral compass or having an introspective attitude about how you will view life. It's always outward. You're basically passing a buck. It's someone else's problem. Yeah, and there's at times that in the one of my other videos I'm going to get more into this about the name it and the blame it. There is what the Constitution that makes us up in our life to what we are, and if we don't step back and get a little more into what is really going on in my life and how did I arrive into my behavior, into the way I relate to certain situations, even the way I view life, even the way I will relate to how I will see certain things, and why am I sabotaging myself? All these things are so important, and that's what people call it human growth hormone, right? And they say as you get older, you lose it. Well, in your life, this is one thing you don't lose in your life: the ability to be introspective. You either gonna push it down or you're gonna let it rise up, right? First of all, people who don't have this perspective of they can ever be wrong, whether they think it's protecting themselves, whether they need to shield themselves from correction, whether they think it's some form of abuse to basically be wrong. There's so many variety of reasons. The large fact, the large scale horizon, the large story of the whole of this small factor is that the more they deny truth, the more they will be given over to error. The more they're given over to error, the more they're able to be susceptible and open to demonic activity. And I want you, whether you believe this or not, that is up to you. Okay? The more untruthful person becomes in their life, okay, the more they will be given to other vices. Okay? Because once you make an excuse about something you're about to do, it's something else, and it's pretty serious the kind of damage you could cause other people simply because of making excuses what you did, right? Energy vampires and energy stealers, in the process of doing all that they're doing, their laziness, their lack of conscience, their ability to disable truth in their life, because it's an ability. Don't let anyone ever fool you in that. You still have a choice. I firmly believe it, man. You make a choice between right and wrong every single second of your life, every single second. And it builds up over time. When they open up themselves and they become susceptible to other forces, is because their home has become uh, conducive. it's become very comfortable for invisible forces to be active in their life. And people who are more given to error, at some point or another, they'll be given more to dark movies, dark music, dark situations. You will see it even in their eyes if you watch carefully enough, in their mannerisms, in the way they will hide certain truths in a statement. They will hide behind the scenes. They will slowly become conniving. That when they push down the ability to care for another person, they know they're actually hurting that person by whether by pushing that person to do something that they know is going to harm that person, even though they want to protect their little behind and get that person to get in trouble in on their behalf, they'll do it. They'll go to all these different levels. They'll have other people even in family lines, in siblings too. They get their siblings in trouble. Even from young age, they will begin to show these colors, right? In the light of all that, there's a consequence to what happens to them. When you talk about energy, the life begins to leave them, okay? Because they're not ticking anymore. Their body may be alive. They lose the benefit of their life force. Their force is just simply alive and ticking, but it's no real beat going on in it. The rhythm, the frequency, the highness, there's something that has sunk them down. They're sunken. And whether or not they can put on a good show, they'll probably be the most loneliest people. And not because they can have a whole bunch of people around them, but they cannot ever, ever, ever be happy with themselves. They're the kind of people that if they sleep a whole lot, is because they're escaping the stinker they have become. And they're the very ones, okay? The people who are not like them will find it very hard to call another person a stinker or to use statements quickly coming out of their mouth. Because their words are like arrows, right? They quickly will say things at a snip. And they don't care. They don't care. Maybe that's just it. They just don't care. That's when the heart becomes hardened. Where I'm going with all this is that in the case of energy stealers, somewhere in the invisible world, with all that dark nonsense going on with them, they have to somewhat remain sustained, right? They learn, and maybe they get together with other people who are like them. Whether I'm not saying all of them do this. Whether they've now learned black arts, whether they've learned witchcraft, whether they've learned other occultic ways, or whether they just basically it may come natural to them because the evil spirits that are show them how to be able to do it. They'll be able to walk up to a person and tap into them and begin to withdraw part of their life from their force. That's their life force. Without realizing that person, and if that person is cued in enough, that person will realize it. Okay. There was an episode where, of course, the lady got the message because, of course, she was facing God Almighty on the earth. She ran up quickly and silently to Jesus. She said, "If only I could touch his garment, I can get healed." Right? She had a need. He had the provision. She ran up and sure enough. So don't let anybody tell you this stuff is not real. This, what do you want to call a phenomenon? What do you want to call it? I'll call it an ability. It's very real. Jesus said, I felt immediately power coming out from me. And he turned around and he said, interesting. Now, maybe he knew, maybe he needed her to be honest. And that's probably where she probably got a changeover. She actually got confronted and she got a changeover. She got healed, by the way, by touching him. He said, who touched me? And she ran up and she confessed that it was her. And she started going into the old, and they like to do this too. If you catch them out, you confront them. Oh, the old pity story, right? That I've had this flow of blood problem for all these years and blah, blah, blah. Jesus and all of his compassion, God will always do this because he loves the human race. He made us. He made us in his image, our image is in his image. So his desires for us to get back to wholesomeness, right? No matter in what stage anyone is at, right? He goes, "Go away, daughter." And it's interesting he would call her daughter. I mean, you think like, wow, talk about him building her up right there. But one thing she did, that was a turnaround for her. She faced him and he said, "I am the truth." She faced him. She became truthful. She entered into a transaction of truthfulness, right? And what happened at that point? She received a real healing. And he said, "Go your way. Your faith has made you well." Faith kicked in at that moment. Faith also kicked in. And something about the energy stealers, they don't have a whole lot of faith. See, I believe truth first starts with truth and then comes faith. First truth, then faith. The Bible says that faith works through love. Unloving people like to steal. Jesus says the devil comes to steal. And in any way, shape, or form, anyone who's attaching themselves to you and they start withdrawing from you, and they'll do it. There's so many different ways. They can do it through trying to access your time, trying to be a little bit too overbearing, trying to be a little bit more aggressive than that. Even though I know people will make a joke out of it too. Deep down inside, they're stealing your energy. Deep down inside, they're stealing your energy. When you have family members who think they have a right, and that's the thing, they think they have a right, and no one has a right to steal. When they think they have a right to access you through a phone call, through a text message, out of the blue, and it's interesting that they seem to have this uncanny ability to know when you start vibrating. They can pick up on that frequency. Some people have said, or just got paid, or you just came to a lot more money, or whatever. They seem to know. Energy stealers are always needy. They're always needy. They're always greedy. They're after only one thing: for you to fill a need. The way they get energized is by your energy. Other than that, they don't have none of it. They're morose, down, depressed. Ugh. What do you expect? What do they expect? They can't. There's no way possible they can ever have a life driving activity going on with them when they're basically becoming rotten and don't mind it. When they're decaying and they don't mind it, that is like, you're thinking, oh my gosh, like, can't you even for a second realize that you're hurting yourself more? The thing about people who steal your energy, they do it to themselves because they lose. And they keep losing and losing and losing. And what they don't seem to understand, or maybe they think there's more of it to go around with you, so therefore they can come and access it. It's never ever, and you put a guard around it like a sentinel. Let's say, no way, my energy is not available for you to come take. I don't care who you are. I don't care. In any given situation, wife, husband, teacher, parent, whatever. A thief is a thief, is a thief is a thief. Okay? You're on the road, people try to do the same thing. They do funny, crazy things. You'll be driving along, singing along to a song, whatever, you're feeling really good. And some bozo comes driving behind you and acting all erratically. No. Dude, this is an invisible world in motion, man. All of a sudden, your car is lit up with something really bigger than just your car. And he's like that being, that invisible force is going, gotta touch. And they do that by upsetting you. Upset. And then you're able to give over your energy. So I'm going to go more into this in another video, but they are very real. And their intention more than anything else is to hook up, attach, take, and then they're gone, right? And this video basically covered a lot of the semantics, the basics as to what makes them are the way they are. And don't ever feel sorry for them. Even upon their deathbed, don't ever feel sorry for them. They have the same chances you do, man. They have the same chances like everyone else. And God is freely saying, come to me. Come to me. Though your sin be white, I mean, as red as scarlet, I'll make it white as snow. God is more than happy to heal anybody. They're not interested in being healed. And that's the most saddest part about it. It's really sad. You can't really do anything about it. Even trying to understand it, why? The best thing you can only do is protect yourself. Unless you're an ability, you're in the position to actually give them the truth. It ain't worth it. You all have a good day and do like and subscribe. Bye now.